Yeah, exactly. That feeling, the one where everything just seems hazy, like you're standing at the edge of something, maybe something exciting, maybe something scary, and you don't quite know where to put your feet next. Or maybe it's not even a big moment. Maybe it's just a Wednesday afternoon, and suddenly you're feeling heavy or stuck, or like everyone else has the instruction manual except for you. It happens. It happens to all of us, probably a lot more often than any of us talk about. We scroll through feeds filled with highlight reels, and we start to feel like our behind the scenes, blooper filled existence is somehow wrong, like it's a personal failing. This occasional confusion or discomfort or lack of perfectly packaged answers. But maybe, just maybe, that feeling is actually the starting point. Not a sign you're broken, but a sign you're ready, ready to look a little closer, ready to understand a little more, ready to figure some things out. And honestly, maybe it's not about figuring it all out definitively, like solving a complicated math problem, but more like learning to surf. You don't control the ocean, you learn to ride the waves, right? You get better with practice, you fall sometimes, you get back up. And each wave, even the wobbly ones, teaches you something new. So, what if we just started there, acknowledging the messiness, the uncertainty? And then, gently, curiosity nudging us along, we just start looking around, inside ourselves and out. Not seeking grand revelations necessarily, just trying to understand the small bits better, the small, repetitive thoughts that run in loops, the weird little anxieties that pop up out of nowhere, the moments of joy we let pass by too quickly, almost unnoticed, the things that trip us up, the things that lift us up. It's all data, isn't it? It's all part of the story. Your story, my story, our stories. One of the first places our figuring out mission usually takes us, consciously or not, is into our own heads. It's like opening a closet that hasn't been sorted in a while. There's a lot in there. Old outfits that don't fit anymore, things you forgot you owned, maybe a few things that seem to have appeared out of thin air. Our thoughts are a bit like that. They just show up, millions of them every single day. Some sources say we have tens of thousands, even up to 60,000 thoughts per day. And guess what? A huge percentage of those, something like 80% or more, can be negative or repetitive. Think about that. Your brain is a thought-generating machine, and it has a strong tendency to lean towards the grumpy, the worrisome, the what if. And this isn't because you are negative. This is just how brains, evolutionarily speaking, work. Our ancient ancestors were more likely to survive if they constantly scanned for danger, replayed past mistakes to avoid them again, and worried about future scarcity. Our brains are hardwired for survival, not necessarily for constant bliss. So, when those critical thoughts bubble up, when anxiety taps you on the shoulder, it's not a personal failing. It's just your old, incredibly complex operating system running its default program. Recognizing this is powerful. It creates a little distance. Instead of automatically believing every single thought as gospel truth, oh, I thought I'm terrible at this, so I must be terrible, you can start to see thoughts as thoughts, just electrochemical signals firing, patterns of neurons activating, not absolute reality. Think of your mind like a sky. The thoughts are the clouds drifting through. Some are dark and stormy, some are light and fluffy, some are barely their wisps. You can watch them drift. You don't have to grab onto each one, climb aboard, and let it carry you away. Especially not the dark and stormy ones. This is essentially the core of mindfulness, boiled down. Noticing your thoughts and feelings without judgment, without trying to push them away or cling to them. Just noticing, oh, there's that cloud of doubt again. Interesting, it feels heavy. Not, oh my God, I'm doubting myself. I must be failing. This is awful. Just notice. This simple act of noticing can create a huge shift. It's like turning the volume down slightly on the mental chatter. It doesn't make the thoughts disappear, because again, brains are thought-generating machines, but it changes your relationship with them. You're no longer completely identified with every fleeting worry or criticism. You're the sky, vast and open, not just the cloud. And the sky endures long after the clouds have passed. Now, some of those clouds are particularly sticky. They loop. They tell a persistent story. I'm not good enough. Things will never work out for me. I always mess everything up. These are what are sometimes called limiting beliefs. They feel true because we've thought them so many times, perhaps since childhood, reinforced by various experiences. But repetition doesn't equal truth. It just equals repetition. Challenging these takes conscious effort. It's like fact-checking your internal news feed. When that thought pops up, instead of accepting it, you can gently ask, is that really true? Always. Is there any evidence to the contrary? Did I ever do something right? Was there a time things did work out? This isn't about slapping on positive affirmations that feel fake. Saying, I am successful, when you feel like a total failure, usually just makes you feel like a liar and a failure. It's about finding the nuance. Instead of I always mess up, maybe it's sometimes I mess up, like everyone does, but I also sometimes succeed, and I can learn from the mess-ups. That's more accurate. That feels more real. It's less emotionally charged, and it opens up space for growth, whereas the absolute statement slams the door shut. And what about the feelings that come with these thoughts? Feelings aren't thoughts. They are physical sensations and emotional states. They also just show up. Anxiety feels different in your body than sadness does, which feels different from joy or frustration. Often, our first instinct is to resist uncomfortable feelings. We try to push them down, numb them out, distract ourselves into oblivion. And, spoiler alert, it rarely works long-term. The feeling usually just sits there, vibrating under the surface, waiting. And sometimes, ironically, resisting the feeling makes it stronger, like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. Acceptance is the key here too, just like with thoughts. Can you just feel the feeling? Can you allow anxiety to be present without trying to instantly fix it or escape it? Can you sit with sadness for a few moments without immediately needing to cheer yourself up? This is incredibly hard. It goes against every fiber of our being which screams danger. Avoid discomfort, but paradoxically, allowing the feeling, just giving it permission to exist, often diminishes its power. It's like inviting the beach ball to float on the surface. It's still there, but it's not using up all your energy fighting it. This doesn't mean wallowing or giving up on feeling better. It just means acknowledging the reality of how you feel right now before trying to shift anything. It's radical acceptance. This is what's happening in my inner world right now, and it's okay for it to be happening. Okay, so we've dipped our toes into the inner world, noticing thoughts without believing them all, gently questioning limiting beliefs, and allowing feelings without resisting them. This is fundamental because everything we experience, everything we interact with in the outside world, is filtered through this inner landscape. Our perception isn't a crystal clear window onto objective reality. It's a highly curated, heavily biased lens. We see the world not as it is, the philosophers like to remind us, but as we are. Our past experiences, our beliefs, our mood, our expectations, they all paint the picture. This is why two people can witness the exact same event and have wildly different interpretations. Think about seeing someone you know on the street who doesn't smile or say hello. If you're already feeling a bit insecure, you might interpret it as, "Oh, they must be annoyed with me. I must have done something wrong." If you know they've been going through a tough time, you might think, "Poor thing, they must be really stressed or sad right now." Same objective event, completely different subjective interpretation based on your internal state and your assumptions. Understanding these cognitive biases, these built-in mental shortcuts that distort our perception, is another piece of the puzzle. There's confirmation bias, where we selectively notice and remember information that confirms what we already believe. If you believe you're bad at something, you'll easily spot and recall every mistake you make while glossing over any successes. There's the fundamental attribution error, where we tend to attribute other people's negative behavior to their character. They're lazy, while attributing our own similar behavior to external circumstances. I'm just tired because I had a rough day. Knowing these biases exist isn't about trying to eradicate them. They are part of the human operating system, but about developing a healthy skepticism towards your own interpretations, especially the negative or judgmental ones. When you find yourself making a strong judgment about someone else, or a sweeping negative statement about yourself or a situation, pause and ask, what else could be true? What's another way to look at this? What information am I missing? Could my own mood or bias be influencing my perception? This shift in perspective can unlock empathy, reduce conflict, and offer you more helpful ways of seeing challenging situations. It's about deliberately widening the lens. Imagine your standard viewpoint is like looking through a keyhole. You see a tiny, limited slice of the picture. What if you took a step back or tried looking from a different angle? What else becomes visible then? Sometimes the problem isn't the problem itself, but the rigid way we're looking at it. Changing your perspective is not about denying reality. It's about acknowledging that reality is often more complex and multifaceted than our initial knee-jerk reaction suggests. So, okay, we're noticing our inner world and understanding that our outer world perception is shaped by it. This introspection is valuable, crucial even, but at some point, we usually arrive at the inevitable question. Now what? What do I do with all this awareness? Because thinking about making changes is different from actually making them, isn't it? There's this chasm sometimes between knowing and doing. We know we should probably exercise more or scroll less, or have that difficult conversation or work on that project. But, the inertia is real. The resistance shows up. Procrastination waves hello, sometimes disguised as gathering more information or waiting for the right time. Action taking action, even small action. This is often where the rubber meets the road in self-improvement, and frequently, the biggest barrier isn't a lack of knowledge or ability, it's fear. Fear of failing, fear of not being good enough, fear of what others might think, fear of discomfort, fear of succeeding and then having to live up to it. Fear in its many costumes is a formidable gatekeeper. And just like with thoughts and feelings, trying to muscle past fear or waiting until you feel fearless is usually a losing strategy. Fear doesn't politely wait outside. It often wants to come along for the ride. The common wisdom, often borrowed from places like cognitive behavioral therapy, is you don't have to wait to feel ready. You just have to do the thing. action often precedes motivation and confidence. Think about exercising. Most days, you might not feel like going for a run or hitting the gym, but you put on your shoes, you get out the door, and usually, once you're moving, the motivation kicks in. You feel better, more energetic. The doing created the feeling, not the other way around. This applies to creative projects, difficult conversations, job applications, anything that feels daunting. Break it down into the tiniest possible first step. Not write a novel, but write one sentence. Not organize the whole chaotic room, but put one thing away. Not have the huge breakup conversation, but text them asking to meet up soon. Tiny steps lower the barrier to entry, make the task feel less overwhelming, and chip away at the inertia. They also build momentum. One small success, one small action, makes the next small action feel slightly easier. And consistency often trumps intensity. Better to do 5 minutes of something helpful every day than 2 hours once a month. Habits are built through repetition, not revolution. Setting tiny, consistent habits is a powerful way to wire in new behaviors. Charles Duhigg, in The Power of Habit, talks about the habit loop. Cue, routine, reward. You identify a cue, e.g., feeling stressed, seeing your phone notification. You recognize the routine, e.g., picking up your phone and scrolling endlessly. And you identify the reward, e.g., temporary distraction, novelty. To change the habit, you need to identify the real reward you're seeking. Is it escape, connection, information? Keep the cue the same, but change the routine to get a healthier reward. Maybe when you feel stressed, instead of scrolling, you do 5 deep breaths, and the reward is a moment of calm. It takes conscious design and experimentation. Dealing with discomfort is another crucial part of taking action. Growth rarely happens inside our comfort zones. The edge of discomfort is usually where the learning begins. Learning a new skill, uncomfortable. Having an honest conversation, uncomfortable. Trying something where you might fail, super uncomfortable. We've become very good in many modern societies at avoiding discomfort at all costs. Instant gratification, endless entertainment, comfort foods. We build lives designed to minimize friction, but ironically, this can make us fragile. We lose our tolerance for distress. Building resilience isn't about becoming someone who never feels discomfort. It's about becoming someone who can handle discomfort. It's about increasing your distress tolerance quotient, your ability to sit with uncomfortable feelings and urges without acting impulsively to make them go away in unhelpful ways. This is where allowing feelings comes back in. When you feel the urge to procrastinate or avoid or lash out, can you just notice that urge? Can you feel the physical sensation of anxiety or frustration? Can you say to yourself, "This is uncomfortable, but I can handle uncomfortable"? This isn't about being a stoic statue. It's about building inner strength bit by bit. It's training for life's unavoidable challenges. Because challenges will come whether we invite them or not. This brings us neatly to something deeply philosophical. Stoicism, ancient Greek and Roman philosophy that has had a huge resurgence lately, and for good reason. Its core principles are incredibly practical for navigating a chaotic world. The most fundamental concept in Stoicism is the dichotomy of control. Some things are within our control, most things are not. Our thoughts, our judgments, our impulses, our actions, our character, generally within our control. Other people's opinions, the weather, the economy, the past, what someone else does or says, how long we live, generally not within our control. The Stoic practice is to focus our energy, our worry, our attention only on what is within our control, and to radically accept what is not. How much suffering in life comes from fruitlessly railing against things we cannot change, from getting angry about the traffic, from being devastated because someone else doesn't behave the way we want them to, from wishing the past was different. It's like pushing against a brick wall. It just exhausts you. Accepting what you cannot control doesn't mean you approve of it or like it. You can still advocate for change in the world, absolutely, but you focus on your actions and your responses to injustice or difficulty, because those are within your control, rather than raging against the external situation itself, which isn't. In your personal life, this might look like shifting from "why did they do this to me?" Focus on external, outside control to "okay, they did that. I can't change their action now. What is my response? How do I choose to act or react now? What does this situation teach me about myself or them?" Focus on internal, within control. It sounds simple, almost deceptively simple, but applying this filter consistently takes massive practice. Every time you feel frustrated, stressed, or angry, you can pause and ask, is this about something within my control or outside of it? If it's outside, can I practice letting go of the need for it to be different right now? Can I shift my focus to my own internal state and chosen response? This one principle alone, truly lived, could profoundly change your experience of life. It's about cultivating inner freedom by relinquishing the illusion of control over externals. Your peace of mind doesn't have to be held hostage by unpredictable circumstances or the actions of others. Speaking of others, figuring things out in life invariably involves figuring out how to relate to other people. We are, for the most part, social creatures. Our connections, or lack thereof, deeply impact our well-being. Relationships, whether romantic, familial, or platonic, are also prime territory for confusion, hurt, and growth. And boy, are they complex. We bring all our inner landscape, our biases, our fears, our past experiences, our default ways of thinking and feeling into every interaction. And so does the other person. It's amazing we connect at all sometimes. One fundamental truth about relationships: you cannot change other people. Just like you can't control the weather, you can't control someone else's behavior, feelings, or choices. This is the Stoic principle applied to people. You can influence, yes, through your own actions and communication, but you cannot force change. Accepting this is freeing, albeit sometimes frustrating. It shifts the focus, yet again, back to your side of the street. How are you showing up in the relationship? What are your boundaries? What is your communication style? What is your intention? Clear communication is vital, and often way harder than it looks. We make assumptions. We mind read. We hint instead of asking directly. We use "you always" or "you never" statements which feel like accusations and trigger defensiveness, instead of expressing our own feelings using "I" statements. For example, instead of "you never help out," which is often an exaggeration and focuses on blaming the other, try "I feel overwhelmed when the chores aren't shared," which expresses your feeling and the impact of the behavior, opening the door for a less defensive conversation. It's a simple technique, but mastering it takes practice and awareness. And boundaries? Boundaries. Crucial, often overlooked, and frequently misunderstood. Boundaries aren't about building walls to keep everyone out. They are about defining what is okay and not okay for you within a relationship. They are about protecting your energy, your time, your emotional well-being, your values. They are a form of self-respect. Saying no is a boundary. Asking for space is a boundary. Declining a request that you don't have the capacity for is a boundary. Expressing that certain behavior is not acceptable to you is a boundary. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's self-preservation, which allows you to then show up more fully and healthily in your relationships. If you constantly overgive, overcommit, and resent it, that serves no one in the long run. Setting a boundary can feel scary because you might fear rejection or conflict. But often, the people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries, even if it requires adjustment on their part. Those who consistently disregard your boundaries might not be healthy people to have close relationships with, which is a tough realization, but sometimes necessary. Relationships also teach us about managing expectations. We often project our own needs and ideals onto others and get hurt when they don't meet them perfectly. Nobody is perfect. We all know that logically, but emotionally, we sometimes expect partners, friends, or family to intuitively understand us, to always show up how we need them to. Practicing letting go of rigid expectations and accepting people for who they are while maintaining your boundaries can reduce significant friction and disappointment. It doesn't mean settling for poor treatment. It means choosing acceptance of their being while deciding what level of interaction is healthy for you. Moving from the practicalities of internal states and external relationships, sometimes figuring things out takes a more existential turn. Questions about meaning, purpose, and value bubble up. What's the point of all this? What am I supposed to do with my life? Does anything really matter? These are big, often uncomfortable questions. They are questions philosophers have grappled with for millennia. And there's no single, easy answer universally applicable to everyone. For some people, meaning is found in faith or spirituality. For others, it's in relationships and family. For others, it's in work, creativity, or service to others. Existentialism, a school of philosophy, suggests that meaning isn't something inherent in the universe waiting to be discovered. It's something we create in a world potentially devoid of preordained purpose, at least one that's obvious to us. We are free to define our own values and create our own meaning through our choices and actions. This is both incredibly daunting and incredibly empowering. It means you are the author of your life's meaning, not a passive recipient of it. Instead of agonizing about finding some grand, overarching life's purpose, delivered like a personalized decree from the universe, maybe it's more helpful to think about what gives you a sense of purpose and meaning today. What activities make you lose track of time? What problems in the world break your heart or ignite your passion? What skills do you enjoy using or want to develop? Who do you feel drawn to help or connect with? Meaning can be found in small, everyday acts of kindness, in pursuing a craft, in learning something new, in spending quality time with loved ones, in appreciating beauty, in striving for personal growth. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, wrote Man's Search for Meaning. His experience in concentration camps led him to observe that those who survived often had some purpose to live for, a loved one, a book to finish, a cause. He proposed logotherapy, a form of psychotherapy centered on the idea that meaning is the primary motivational force in humans. He suggested 3 ways to find meaning in life: by creating a work or doing a deed, by experiencing something or encountering someone like love, and by the attitude we take toward unavoidable suffering. That last point is powerful. Even in the most horrific circumstances, the last freedom left to us is the attitude we choose. Another echo of Stoicism there, focusing on what is within our control. Focusing on values can also be a powerful compass. If finding the purpose feels too big, what values are most important to you? Honesty, compassion, creativity, adventure, security, growth. When you understand your core values, you can start making choices alignment with them. This often leads to a greater sense of fulfillment and integrity because you're living in accordance with what matters most to you. And values aren't static. They can evolve over time as you grow and your life changes. Checking in with yourself periodically. What are my top 5 values right now? Can provide helpful direction. Contribution is another potent source of meaning. Humans seem hardwired to want to contribute, to feel useful, to make a difference, however small. This doesn't have to be grand philanthropy. It could be helping a friend move, mentoring someone, volunteering a few hours a month, creating art that moves people, doing your job conscientiously and skillfully, being a supportive listener, finding ways, big or small, to positively impact others or the world around you taps into a deep well of meaning. The pursuit of meaning is often framed as a heavy, intellectual task, but often, meaning reveals itself in moments of presence, connection, and engagement. When you are fully absorbed in an activity you enjoy, when you are deeply connected with another person, when you are struck by the beauty of nature, these are moments laden with implicit meaning, a sense of aliveness, and being connected to something larger than yourself. You don't have to define it. You just have to be present enough to experience it. Being present. Ah, yes. Another concept that sounds simple, but is profound and takes lifelong practice. Mindfulness, presence, being in the moment. Our minds are incredible time travelers. We spend huge amounts of time rehashing the past, regret, nostalgia, analysis, or projecting into the future, planning, worrying, anticipating. While a certain amount of this is necessary, you need to remember past lessons and plan for the future. An over-reliance on time travel takes us out of the only moment we ever truly inhabit, the present. Think about how often you're doing one thing but thinking about another. Eating dinner but scrolling your phone. Talking to someone but planning what you'll say next, or thinking about that email you need to send. Walking outside but replaying an argument from earlier. This chronic mental absenteeism means we miss out on vast swaths of our lives. We miss the taste of the food, the nuances of the conversation, the feel of the sun or wind, the quiet satisfaction of the task at hand. We are physically present, but mentally gone. Mindfulness is the practice of deliberately bringing your attention back to the present moment without judgment. You can practice it formally through meditation, but you can also practice it informally throughout your day, paying attention to the sensation of water when washing your hands, fully tasting your food, really listening when someone is speaking to you, focusing only on their words and presence, noticing the physical sensations in your body right now, paying attention to your breath, always available in the present moment. It's not about emptying your mind or achieving a state of blissful calm, though those can sometimes be byproducts. It's simply about noticing where your attention is and gently, without self-criticism, redirecting it back to the here and now when it drifts. And it will drift. That's what minds do. The practice is in the returning over and over again. It builds your capacity for focus and presence. Why does presence matter? Because joy, connection, insight, and meaning are only ever found in the present moment. You cannot experience joy in the past or future. You cannot connect with someone yesterday or tomorrow. You cannot have a creative breakthrough outside of the now. Living fully means inhabiting the present moment as much as possible. It reduces anxiety, which is often future-oriented worry, and depression, which is often past-oriented rumination. It allows you to respond skillfully to what is actually happening, rather than reacting to your thoughts about what's happening or what might happen. Learning and growth are also fundamental aspects of figuring things out, not just specific skills, but also personal growth, emotional intelligence, expanding your understanding of yourself and the world. Cultivating a growth mindset, a term popularized by Carol Dweck, is key. It's the belief that abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication, hard work, and feedback from others. This contrasts with a fixed mindset, where people believe their basic qualities, like intelligence or talent, are simply fixed traits. With a fixed mindset, challenges are seen as obstacles. If I struggle, it means I'm not smart talented. Effort is seen as pointless. If I had the talent, I wouldn't need to work so hard. And feedback or criticism is taken personally as an attack on their inherent worth. They think I'm dumb. Failure is devastating evidence of their fixed limitations. With a growth mindset, challenges are seen as opportunities to learn. This is tough, but I can figure out how to do it better. Effort is seen as the path to mastery. The more I practice, the better I'll become. And feedback is valuable information. This helps me understand where I can improve. Failure is a temporary setback and a chance to learn a valuable lesson. You can probably see how having a growth mindset impacts everything. Your willingness to try new things, your resilience in the face of difficulty, your ability to learn from mistakes, your persistence. How do you cultivate a growth mindset? By changing your internal dialogue, by noticing when you default to fixed mindset thinking, I'm terrible at this, and gently reframing it in terms of learning and effort. I'm not good at this yet. What can I learn? What step can I take? By focusing on the process of learning and effort rather than solely on the outcome. By celebrating effort and progress, not just innate talent or perfect results. Cultivating curiosity is also part of this. Approaching life with a sense of curiosity turns problems into puzzles and challenges into interesting questions. When something goes wrong, instead of collapsing into self-blame, can you approach it with curiosity? That didn't work out as expected. I wonder why. What were the variables? What can I learn from this? What would I do differently next time? Curiosity takes the sting out of failure and reframes it as research. It makes life an ongoing experiment, full of data points rather than just successes and failures. Another related concept, beginner's mind. In Zen Buddhism, this is about approaching things with openness, eagerness, and a lack of preconceptions, like a beginner would, even if you have expertise. It means setting aside your assumptions and expectations about how things should be or how you already know something is, and just being open to seeing it fresh, with present moment awareness. It helps you see new possibilities, stay humble, and continue learning even in areas where you feel proficient. We often stop seeing opportunities for learning when we think we've become experts. The beginner's mind keeps the doors of perception open. This whole process of figuring things out, introspection, changing perspective, taking action, managing relationships, exploring meaning, practicing presence, cultivating a growth mindset. It's not a linear path. There are no levels you pass and never return from. It's much more cyclical. You might feel like you've got a handle on managing your thoughts, And then a stressful life event happens, and suddenly your mind is in chaos again. You practice setting boundaries, but then a difficult relationship challenge arises, and you struggle again. This is normal. This is part of the human experience. There isn't a destination where you finally arrive and think, okay, I have completely figured everything out forever. No more confusion or discomfort for me. Life is dynamic. You change, the people around you change, the world changes. New challenges emerge, new opportunities arise, and the figuring out continues. It's a lifelong journey, a continuous process of learning, adapting, and evolving. Perhaps the point isn't to arrive at a state of perfect, static enlightenment or absolute self-mastery, but to become more comfortable with the process itself, more accepting of the wobbles, more compassionate towards your own struggles and missteps, more curious about what comes next, more resilient in the face of adversity, more present for the simple joys, instead of striving for some future, flawless version of yourself. Maybe the practice is in being more fully and kindly present with who you are right now. In this moment, with all your imperfections, your confusions, your fears, and your quiet strengths, because that person right now is capable of noticing, capable of choosing their response, capable of learning, capable of connecting, capable of finding moments of meaning. That person is enough to take the next small step. Sometimes figuring things out feels overwhelming, like looking at a giant, tangled knot. You don't know where to start. When you feel that way, maybe just pick at one small thread. Just one. Explore one thought pattern. Try one tiny action step. Focus on one single breath. Read one page. Listen fully to one person for 5 minutes. The entire knot doesn't have to be untangled today or even this year. Progress comes from persistent, often messy, engagement with one small piece at a time. And be patient with yourself. Seriously, be incredibly patient. You wouldn't learn a new instrument or a new language instantly. You'd expect to make mistakes, to sound terrible sometimes, to get frustrated, to have days where it feels like you're going backward. Learning to navigate your inner world, build resilience, change your habits, and relate more skillfully to others is infinitely more complex than learning the piano. There will be setbacks. There will be days you feel like you've learned nothing at all. Those are the days you most need kindness and patience towards yourself. Remember the growth mindset. I'm not there yet. And also remember radical acceptance. This is where I am right now, and that's okay. Don't compare your messy, complicated middle process to someone else's curated, presented outcome. Everyone, and I mean everyone, who is doing interesting or meaningful things in their life is also wrestling with doubt, facing challenges, making mistakes, and still figuring things out behind the scenes. The journey isn't a smooth highway. It's a winding trail with uphill climbs, slippery slopes, breathtaking views, and moments where you trip over a root. All of it is part of the experience. Maybe the real figuring out isn't about finding definitive answers or permanent solutions. Maybe it's about becoming skilled at asking better questions, about becoming comfortable with uncertainty, about building the internal compass, your values, your self-awareness, your resilience, that helps you navigate whichever way the trail turns next. It's okay to be confused sometimes. It's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to stumble. It's more than okay. It's part of being human. The fact that you're even thinking about these things, listening to words like these, means you're already on the path. You're engaged in the process of self-discovery and growth. That itself is a powerful thing. So, Whatever you're facing today, whatever corner you're trying to figure out, whether it's a relationship issue, a career dilemma, a creative block, or just that persistent feeling of blah, remember the tools we've gently explored. Notice your thoughts, question the harsh ones. Allow your feelings, even the uncomfortable ones. Ask yourself what is within your control right now and focus there. Take one tiny action step. Be patient with yourself. Extend yourself the same compassion and curiosity you would offer a dear friend trying to figure things out. Because that's what this is. An ongoing process, a conversation, an exploration, your unique, unfolding path, and you are capable of navigating it, one breath, one step, one moment of figuring things out at a time. Keep exploring, keep noticing, keep learning, keep living.